Okay, let me make sure I'm all good on YouTube. Welcome to those that are joining on YouTube, if anybody. This live is a weekly insight channeling session where I will be sharing some of my messages, some of the things that came to me through me, some of my weekly insights, some of the things that I've learned. And I will also be doing this on Instagram. So I'm going to kind of be like trying to share my eyeline here, but who knows how that'll go. So let's go live on Instagram. Let's see. All right, you are now live. Hello to the Instagram world. The lighting is like weird in here. It's not like that on YouTube. I wonder why it's like that on Instagram. Whatever. Happy Sunday to those tuning in live. Sending blessings to those who are checking out the replay. My name is Sabrina. I am a mindfulness teacher, a meditation instructor, an intuitive healer, and today I'm going to be sharing some weekly insights. So as a channel, I often receive messages from the divine, more recently from my ancestors. And I just want to share them with you because I know they're not only for me, they're especially for the collective. So I want to just cleanse this space real quick. Cleanse and align my energy centers so that I may be a clear and conscious conduit of life force energy flowing through and to me. Spirit, I ask that you help me ground, be present, and focus so that I can deliver any and all messages with clarity, with intention, and from a deliberate, heart-centered space. Blessings to all those who are joining today. Thank you for sharing this space with me and your presence. It's all very appreciated. And although I want to keep it informal and I want to allow whatever flows to flow through me, I also want to set an intention. And today that intention is to tune into our body, and to tune into how we're feeling, what we're carrying, what we may be holding today. And before we do that, I just really want to continue cleansing the energy. I'm burning what little Palo Santo I have left, but I also want to just ring the bell once. If you're joining, then I invite you to be. I invite you to go from whatever you were doing, go from your busyness to just being, to maybe close out a mental tab or two and be present with your body, be present with your breath, and whatever you're carrying with you in this moment. So just going to ring the bell once just to get us settled in. And I just want you to listen to it until you can't hear it anymore, and it'll bring you right into the present moment. Welcome to the here and now. Welcome to the present moment. And welcome to Sunday Insights. I don't know what I want to call this thing, but we're gonna call it Sunday Insights because that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing my insights of the week on a Sunday. I'm trying to keep my life as simple as possible right now. In the background, you'll hopefully hear some rustling of the rain and some cars like driving over a wet parking lot, which is honestly one of my favorite sounds. I love a good rainy day. And I love, even more, I love a rainy day that follows or happens on a full moon. I can't think of a better way for Mother Nature to be cleansing us. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. I can't think of a better way for Mother Nature to be cleansing us than to have it downpour the day after a full moon. Because for me, that's what a full moon is. A full moon is a time to cleanse, it's a time to release, it's a time to kind of check in with what hasn't been serving us entirely and um, ask ourselves what we're willing to let go. I just want to try and find, I wrote down like exactly what I was going to be talking about today because I don't want, I mean, I love a good tangent, but I just want to make sure that I stick to what I was going to stick to. Okay, cool. Awesome. So, yeah, the intention of today is tuning into our body. And I offer this intention, number one, because I am a mindfulness instructor. And one of the biggest things that I always offer my community, my students, those that are tuning into my meditations, tune into your body. Tuning into your body is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and the greatest practices of mindful awareness that you can offer. And I won't even say just because, there's so many different reasons. But the main reason that we're going to be focusing on today, or that I'm going to be sharing with you today, is to notice stress. To notice stress and to notice how it deposits in the body. I'm going to see if I can light this one more time. To notice stress and to notice how it deposits in the body. I think that's one of the most powerful practices that we can offer ourselves because we can get so caught up in the mind. We can get so caught up in thinking, in analyzing, in trying to figure out, in assuming what's going to happen next. Or even instead of moving forward into the future, we can get so caught up in moving backward, so caught up in being stuck in the past, the way things used to be, the things we didn't get done yesterday, just ruminating on a better time or a more stressful time, and whatever it is that we may be stuck on. These loops in our mind, they're either in the past or they're in the future, but they're damn sure not in the present moment. And they're taking us from the present moment. And your body is only always in the present moment. So let's take a moment to digest that. No matter where your thoughts are, no matter what you're thinking about, no matter what memory you may be reliving or story you may be creating about the future, no matter where your thoughts are, your body is in the present moment. And your body doesn't know when you're reliving something of the past. Your body doesn't understand. Put this here. Your body doesn't understand that you are thinking about something that's already happened. All that it knows is that you're experiencing that again. Again, that's all it knows. It knows that, okay, this is happening. This is happening right now. And so it's so important to tune into our body and to notice when stress begins to take us over, to notice if stress is in our shoulders, is in our jaw, and to notice all of these things because until we notice, it goes unnoticed, which may sound incredibly simple, right? Until we notice, it goes unnoticed, which is another way of saying if you don't know what's happening, then you don't know. You don't know that you don't know. That sounds like Inception. But it's the truth, and that's where mindful awareness comes in, and it's becoming aware. That's the simplicity of mindfulness. It's becoming aware of what is already happening. And now with that awareness, there will be unpleasant emotions, probably some discomfort, because you're like, oh my God, like, maybe you're awakening to something that you haven't noticed before and it's really uncomfortable and you can't believe it and you just want to change it. And you have this urge to just get it over with or get it out of your sight or stop thinking about it or to fix it somehow. But the beauty of you awakening to what's already happening is that now you have to work toward accepting that it's already happening. You can't just skip that uncomfortable moment just because you've begun to notice it. You've got to be with it. And so, in those moments that you may feel the urge that you've awoken to something, that you've become aware or mindful of something, and now you want to change it, it's in those moments that I urge you to stay with it. Because when you run away from something that's unpleasant, you're also running away from the present moment and you're running away from your body. You're running away from your body. That's where we deposit stress. That's where stress lives, in our body. Oh my God, this is so good. I need a minute. Hmm. So, where do you notice stress? The most common places that we notice stress are our neck, our shoulders, and our jaw. I can make an entire class on that. So we're only going to be focusing on that area, because if we went into other areas of the body, we would not cover all the other things I want to cover. But just noticing stress here, just noticing it in your neck, noticing it in your shoulders, and noticing the degree in which you can release it. Noticing the degree in which you can let go. And you can drop out of your mind and you can drop into the body and you can just notice what you're holding on to. You can notice that you're clenching your jaw or that your tongue is glued to the roof of your mouth. You can notice that your shoulders are really scrunched up towards your ears and this has become a normal stance for you. And then you can release that. But you can't release until you've noticed, right? We can't do much about the stress that we hold in our body until we tune into our body and we become aware of that stress. And so I offer that to you just starting in this area. The amount of times that you're speaking throughout the day, the amount of times that you're changing your facial expressions. This is an area that holds a lot of energy. The neck and the shoulders, this is a place, I have to pull this closer. Oh my God, that's so much better. The neck and the shoulders, that's a place where we physically hold a lot of baggage, a lot of weight, a lot of tension. So maybe you carry a purse, or maybe you carry a backpack, or maybe you carry a load of emotional baggage. Maybe you are someone who takes care of a lot of people in your life. You are quite literally holding people up. Maybe you're not doing it physically, but it's still not figuratively. You're holding them up in some way. You are their foundation, right? So this area is going to be super tense for you. Pay attention to it. That was a really big insight that came through this week. Pay attention to the area of the neck and the shoulder, because this is where we carry a lot of our stress. And I want to reiterate, this is not to say that suddenly the stress will go away, right? We're still going to feel stress. Stress is not a bad thing. It becomes bad when it becomes all-consuming. It becomes bad when we accept it as living in stressful states is normal, because that doesn't have to be normal. Stress is a normal part of our life. There's always going to be stress, physical, mental, emotional, even spiritual. We're going to be put to the test. We're meant to bend, but not to break. And we're also meant to be flexible, and we're meant to expand our consciousness, expand our awareness, so that when something stresses us out, we could become aware of how that stress impacts our body and then move beyond and not just stay there. We don't have to stay in the stressful states, but if you don't become aware of them, then you're staying there by default, right? So that's a little bit about stress. Another thing I wanted to talk about specifically this week is busy moments and daily transitions. So I'm gonna take a sip of my cup of tea here before we transition into this topic. So transitions. A transition can be as simple as what I just did, taking a deep breath before moving on to the next topic, before moving on to the next task or responsibility. Taking a deep breath, taking a pause, taking a moment to acknowledge that you are no longer going to be doing one thing, you are now going to be doing another thing. Transitions are not noticed enough. And the challenging part of all of this is like only you can notice them. Like other people may be involved in your transitions, in your day to day, but your inner experience is what you need to tune into, and no one else can tune into that for you. So, a very, very simple example, a very tangible example of transitioning into something, into another moment, is finding a trigger that helps you become aware that you are transitioning from one moment to the next, such as walking through a doorway, leaving an establishment, leaving a house, going into a vehicle, a car, a train, a bus. These are moments where you were doing one thing and now you're doing another. You were in one place and now you're in another. And when we pay attention to transitions, we notice that our day is not just one clump of everything that we're doing. It's not just one big doing. It's many different doings that we are now noticing, which also goes all the way back to tension and stress. So you can go through so many different things. You can go from meeting to meeting to meeting. Um, you can go from student to parent to teacher. You can go from boss to coworker, to family member to partner. There's so many different transitions. There's so many different hats that we're wearing throughout the day. But if you're not tuning into when you're taking one off and putting another on, then you're just stacking them on top of each other and your day gets super overwhelming. And then that's when we get into that cycle of just coming home and crashing. Coming home and feeling like we didn't get a break today. We didn't get a moment to breathe today. You probably didn't. You probably didn't. And the thing about this is you're not just going to get a moment to yourself. You have to create these moments for yourself. You're not just suddenly going to be given moments to take a deep breath and to pause and to slow down and to recognize the attitude and the energy that you're bringing to each task and each responsibility and the ways in which you're showing up for the people that need you, for the people around you, for the people you're interacting with. These aren't things that are given to you. Just like we don't, what's the saying about time? You don't have time. You don't have time. You have to create it. You have to carve out space for it. And this doesn't mean, take huge chunks and breaks in your day. It doesn't have to be that if that's not available to you. But a deep breath is always available to you. You've always got a good 10 seconds on your side to just breathe before moving to the next thing, to just recalibrate your energy. And chances are, if you have 10 seconds, you probably have a minute. I'm sure you can carve out 5 minutes for yourself, not a chunk of 5 minutes, but 5 different 1 minute transitions throughout the day. So maybe you take 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and then 1 at night. You can spread out 5 minutes throughout your day. Like, all of this stuff is super possible. All of this stuff is super possible. It's just not going to get done until you bring your awareness to it. This is the work, this is the work that only you can do. And so busy moments don't just go away. And that's not what mindfulness is about. I want to make that clear too. Mindfulness is not about dropping your busyness. Mindfulness is not about this like perfect Zen way of living where you don't do things you don't want to do and you can go really slow throughout your day. I feel like there are components where mindfulness can invite more of a slowing down nature. But it's not about stopping the flow of your life. It is, however, about tuning into it. And noticing, are there areas that I could slow down? Can I invite less urgency and more calm into particular areas of my life? Can I do that? And all of this will be up to you, right? Discernment. But again, all of this will remain exactly the same until you choose to notice. So what are you willing to notice this week? What are you willing to shine your inner light of awareness on this week? Are you willing to notice how many tasks you transition from the moment you wake up to the moment you go back to sleep at night? And even that itself is a transition, right? We transition from our eyes being closed to our eyes being open. We transition from a dream state to, quote, waking up, right, to reality. There's so many moments of busy that we don't notice the moments of transition, of moving to get out of bed, from the bed to the shower, from the shower to getting dressed. These are all things that you were doing one thing and now you're doing another. And most of them become this automatic routine because it happens every day. And there are things that after they happen, enough times and enough years in our life, we're not going to pay attention to them as clearly. I'm inviting you to do that this week. I'm inviting you to pay attention to some of those things, the little things, because they become the big things, as cliche as that sounds. But the way that you choose to transition from your sleeping to your waking moment, and then your waking moment to your working moments, and then your working moments to your off moments. You might even be able to cultivate some time to play. You might even be able to cultivate some time to enjoy these moments. But you can't necessarily enjoy what you're not paying attention to. You can look at it and abstractly see like, oh, this is probably going to be a good time. But are you tuning in and are you experiencing the good time? Are you in it? Are you noticing it? Are you feeling it? Are you embodying what you go through? Are you embodying, your experience? And it's in these moments that not only can we feel things that feel good, but we can notice when things don't feel good. Going back to stress, we can notice, wow, I'm holding a lot of tension in my shoulders. I actually, and on YouTube, I put the links in the description for this most recent class, session that I just led. I lead an online meditation / Dharma session twice a month, and it's called the Mindful Caregiver Breathing Circle. So I lead meditations for caregivers, and I also have an intention for that. And I share a little Dharma talk, and then I walk them through a mindfulness meditation. And most recently, last week, I offered a session that was on self talk and self compassion and just tuning in, which is actually something I'll transition into speaking about now. Just tuning into our thoughts and how we treat ourselves on the good days and on the bad days, and not to get down on ourselves for not being kind to ourselves or being judgmental, but just getting to a place where we can notice it. Just getting to a place where we can notice it. And so as I guided them through this. And at the end of the practice, um, what I love about these practices is just like, I never know what will resonate with somebody. My intention was to help them understand their self talk, to help them increase their level of self compassion, and to notice how they speak to themselves and maybe pour a little more kindness in. That's my intention, but I don't always get to. My intention doesn't always directly correlate with the outcome, because there's different people joining and they're coming in with different mindsets and different ailments and different struggles and challenges and voices inside their head, right? So who knows what someone's going through and what they'll be able to receive. And so that's why I really love this work, because it's always just open to interpretation. And at the end of the session, um, a woman shared, "I can't believe how much tension was in my shoulders." And I was just so elated to hear that. I was so elated to hear that. Not that she had tension in her shoulders, but that she tuned in and she practiced presence, and she became aware that there was tension in her shoulders. And that is such a gift that you can give yourself, becoming aware. And it's like, when you experience that insight, when you feel that yourself, when you notice something within your body, within your mind, when you notice a pattern or an experience, it doesn't go away. You've noticed it. It's like you've kind of like unlocked this thing, this, what's a good word to describe it? You've unlocked another level of consciousness. You've expanded your awareness. And it's like expanding beyond a limit, let's say. And now that that expansion has taken place, you don't go back. You can't fit back into the parameters that you once fit in. You've expanded now. And so that's the beauty of practicing presence and becoming aware of this stuff. You notice things, and then you can't go back to not noticing them. You may forget, and they may not always be on the forefront of your mind, but it's something that's been unlocked within you. And that's why that's why I refer to this as inner work. That's why I love teaching this stuff, because this is like the work only you can do. Only you can do this. Only she was going to be able to recognize how much tension she was holding in her body. Now, sure, she could go to like a doctor or a chiropractor, or someone can look at her and see like, oh, she's really tightening up her shoulders. But only she can feel that experience. And only the feeling of that experience and embodying and understanding it will bring her to a place of possibly wanting to create change, to shine a little more awareness on it, to become more conscious and possibly a little more caring toward her body and paying attention to it. Mm. Ooh, that's good. All right. So, last but not least, I want to talk about becoming aware of self talk, which directly correlates into letting go of old programming. I want to try to keep this at 10 minutes so I don't go too deep, because with old programming, I can go on for days and days. But self talk. So, briefly, just to understand what self talk is, it is the inner dialogue that you experience. There is a little voice inside all of our heads. And sometimes that voice is super supportive, and sometimes that voice is harsh and a little cruel. or a lot cruel. Sometimes that voice will push us to do things, and sometimes that voice will tell us to stay safe and comfortable and not do things. And it's really up to you, again, to tune in to what this voice is offering to you, to tune in to what this voice has to say, and recognize if this is helping you or hurting you. So, the voice that always hurts you no matter what is your inner critic. Your inner critic is going to, it's like your inner bully. It's going to tear you down. It's going to highlight your mistakes. It's going to put together a highlight reel of all the things that didn't work out and all the ways that you made mistakes and came up short and weren't enough, or maybe you were too much. And it's going to remind you of all of the things that made you uncomfortable and that were unpleasant and that hurt you. And it'll keep you from doing anything that may make you feel that way again. We all have an inner critic. And I think that there are times when, if you tame it, there are times when it can possibly be helpful, like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And then it's like, oh yeah, no brainer, I shouldn't do that. But if you're always listening to it, then you have to recognize that you're always listening to a voice that you created. And you may have created this from limits and trauma and old stories that just don't align with who you are anymore. And it's kind of like autopilot. If you don't tune into what you're doing on autopilot, then you may be doing the same thing you've always done for decades. And maybe when you learned it that way, it was exactly what you needed to get through, to survive, to become successful, to, make it to the other side. But now you don't need that. In fact, you need to get beyond it. But again, you won't get beyond it unless you become aware of it, right? You won't even know that it's something you need to get beyond unless you tune in. Remember, you don't know what you don't know. Which, again, inception, very deep, I know. But when you tune into these things, these unknown things, or these very familiar things, I shouldn't call them unknown. They're very familiar. It's just you haven't gotten to know them on a deeper level. It's more of a surface level. You hear the voice, and you just accept it. You don't question it. You don't ask, like, why do I think that? Why do I tear myself down? Why do I not support myself? Why do I want to keep myself smaller, quiet, timid? Why do I want to bite my tongue? Or why am I telling myself to bite my tongue? Why is it not worth it to speak up? Why is it not worth it to share my experience? Why is there a voice in my head telling me things that I shouldn't do, rather than telling me or supporting me in things that I really want to do? Now, there's so many different questions that you can ask your inner self. There's so many different questions you can become aware of. But the number one question I want you to ask yourself is, the way that I treat myself on really bad days, the key phrases and words that I say to myself on really bad days, on days where I didn't make the cut. I felt like I wasn't enough. I thought I could juggle 15 things and I couldn't, and everything fell, and I disappointed myself and others. On those days, what do you say to yourself? And would you ever say that to someone that you love dearly? What are some key phrases and words that you say to yourself on just like the worst days? Are you supportive, or are these phrases detrimental? Are you saying, like, it was a really bad day, but you did your best and we can't stay here, right? We can't stay in these stagnant places of negativity. We got to build from this. We got to move on, Are you being supportive, or are you calling yourself a failure? Are you saying, of course this would happen to me. This always happens to me. I knew I shouldn't have tried. Think about these things that you say to yourself on the worst days, on the hard days. because that's when you need a friend the most. And if you can't turn to yourself, those days are going to be even harder than they have to be. Way harder than they have to be. So on that note, we're going to start to bring the session to an end. So let's do a quick recap. So the first thing that we spoke about was noticing stress in the body, tuning into the body to notice stress. So notice it in your jaw. You can relax your jaw, open your mouth slightly, and drop your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Just relax the muscles around your mouth. You can also do the same in your neck. Relax the muscles in your neck. Give your neck a few rolls if you need to. And drop your shoulders away from your ears. You can roll them back. Just relax. And taking some deep breaths and then sighing it all out is a wonderful way to just tune into the body and realize, like, oh, I do feel a little better. And maybe if I feel better, it's because I was holding on to some tension there, right? And that brings us to busy moments and transitions, our daily transitions. We're always going to have busy moments. The goal is not to stop being busy, it's to bring intention to our busy moments, bringing intention to them. We're not suddenly going to not have responsibilities, and we're not suddenly going to be free of tasks and to-do lists and people who need us. That's just not the case. But it shouldn't even be. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to tune in and be even more intentional for the people that need us, for how we want to show up, and for the ways that we're showing up. So for instance, a daily transition is opening your eyes in the morning and putting your feet like on the floor to get up and get ready. Are you doing it on autopilot? Are you paying attention to your body? Or are you in your mind thinking about it's just another day? Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to those transitions. Start to notice how you feel when you wake up. Start to notice how you feel as you go through your day-to-day routines. Start to notice what you're bringing with you. Are you bringing yesterday's baggage, last week's baggage? Are you waking up and thinking about something that happened a month ago? Are you holding on to stress in your body? Are your shoulders tightening up? Is your neck tightening up? Is your jaw tightening up? How are you moving throughout the day? Are you putting one hat on top of another, on top of another, on top of another? Or are you taking moments to transition from one thing to the next? And remember, all you need is 5 minutes. I know you have more than that, but it's a great place to start. All you need is 5 minutes, and not 5 minutes right away. Like 5 minutes in 1 minute intervals. So give yourself 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes in the afternoon, and a minute at night. Just to sit there and take deep breaths and notice, like, wow, there's some tension in my shoulders and back. Or wow, I haven't paid attention to my body in hours. And that's okay. We're just tuning in, right? But tuning into these daily transitions helps our body and our mind. And it helps us not just have one gigantic day, right? But we have many, many moments throughout the day. And it's up to you to tune into these moments. It's up to you to pay attention to these moments so that you can make the most of these moments. And finally, self-talk. So becoming aware of self-talk will ultimately help us let go of the old programming. If there's a way that we spoke to ourselves 10 years ago that really helped us get out of a situation or helped us thrive or helped us achieve goals, just check in with yourself and ask if that's really helping you today. Check in with yourself and get curious. The way that I'm speaking to myself on my worst days, on my really hard days, like, am I getting to a place that's helpful? Or am I staying in a place that's hurtful? And it's in these moments, just by tuning in to the voice inside our head, we can notice, period. We can notice. And if you don't notice, you can't tune in, you can't create change. If you don't make room for awareness, there is no room for change. And if you're not willing to be aware and be with the uncomfortable and be with the unpleasant, that's already unfolding. If you're not willing to sit in a space of, okay, this is happening. I'm not a fan of it. I'd rather change it, but it is happening and I'm working to accept it. If you're not in this space and you're not willing to be in this space, then you're going to give in to every urge that shows up for you. You're going to give in to the urges that tell you, like, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to look at this. I don't want to do this. And then you're just going to live a life following urges. And that is pure distraction, my friends. Pure distraction, which if you're watching on YouTube, I have linked a blog about overcoming distraction through mindfulness and through the 5 senses. So you can check that out. So yeah, to sum this whole thing up, let me make sure I'm over here. Okay. To sum this whole thing up, take breaks throughout your day. Tune into your body. Pay attention to the way that you speak to yourself. And pay attention to the tasks that you're swinging to from day to day. Just notice it. Just become aware of it. And just by becoming aware of what you're already doing, who you already are, how you're already showing up, what you're really doing is becoming present. You're catching up to the present moment. You're dropping out of the thinking mind and you're catching up into the present moment. And if you can do that, if you can do that over and over again, there's a lot of potential for creation and change and compassion and patience and expansion in that space. You just have to be willing. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Thanks for those who popped in for the live. And I hope that there are some people that are tuning in for the replay. I'm sending you peace and blessings to your corner of the world. Again, my name is Sabrina. I am a mindfulness teacher, a meditation instructor, and intuitive healer. And these are my weekly insights as a teacher, as a channel, as a spiritual guide, and more importantly, as a human who's going through this with you. So sending you love, sending you peace, and sending you blessings. And just one last reminder that peace is always one choice away, and that choice is always yours. You just have to tune in. Have a great day.